Few people have lived a life quite like Duncan Jones. But then, not many people can say that Ziggy Stardust was their dad. So, what's worth knowing about the son of David Bowie? Duncan Jones wasn't always known as Duncan Jones, as he's gone through a few major name changes over the years. Born Duncan Zoe Haywood Jones, he was known as Zoe Bowie during his childhood. During his teenage years, however, he decided he preferred either Joe or Joey. Then when he turned 18, he decided to go back to his birth name. When Jones's own son was born in 2016, it became clear that he was well aware of the power of names. Stenton David Jones was named partly for Bowie, of course, but he takes his first name from Bowie's own father, Haywood Stenton Jones. Jones and his wife, Rodine Ronquillo, welcomed their second child, a baby girl, in April 2018. She was named Zoe Tala Mabsy Jones. David Bowie appeared in many films over the years, which meant that the young Duncan Jones got to visit a number of film sets during his youth. He once told the Daily Mail that being on set was like going to Disneyland.
It's not fair!
You say that so often. I wonder what your basis for comparison is.
Films sparked something in Jones that music did not, and his father quickly recognized this. Jones has said that some of his fondest memories are of his dad helping him make movies with Star Wars and Smurf toys. He said that Bowie even taught him skills such as storyboarding, script writing, and lighting, as well as how to cut and splice film. It was Bowie who renewed his son's passion for filmmaking years later too, when Jones was 3 years into his PhD program. He told The Verge, "My dad was working up in Montreal with Tony Scott on this TV version of The Hunger, and asked me if I wanted to take a little break and come up and join them." When Jones arrived on set, Scott put a camera in his hands and put him to work. He recalled, "I had the best time, and I was like, this is it. I need to go to film school." Duncan Jones's creative pursuits don't end on the film set. He's also something of an artist in the kitchen. He'd often tweet photos of his culinary pursuits on his now-defunct X account, at one point insisting that he can make, in his words, a bloody lovely rhubarb crumble. Jones even once used food to invite a discussion about cultural appropriation, tweeting a photo of a Japanese dish he made for his family, and writing, "I think food is a good arbiter for the discussion, because it's the one where we are most comfortable with the results of blending, borrowing, and appropriation. Curious, are there examples of foods you would not eat out of respect for another culture?" It seems you can take the philosopher out of the kitchen, but you can't take the kitchen out of the philosopher. More and more iconic singers have been getting biopics made about them in recent years, but don't expect Duncan Jones to endorse one about his father. David Bowie certainly had a life worth dramatizing, but Jones isn't exactly a fan of the Hollywood biopic treatment. For example, he and his father's estate were opposed to what would eventually become Stardust, a 2020 Bowie biopic.
Rock star or somebody impersonating a rock star? What's the difference?
In 2018, he took to Twitter to lament the producers' attempts to get him in for a meeting before polling his followers as to whether Bowie should be played by Idris Elba, Meryl Streep, Peter Dinklage, or Gilbert Gottfried. The next month, Jones was more straightforward, writing, "As it stands, this movie won't have any of Dad's music in it, and I can't imagine that changing. If you want to see a biopic without his music or the family's blessing, that's up to the audience." At the time, Jones did say that he would approve a script written by Neil Gaiman, author of Coraline, American Gods, and ironically, Stardust. Of course, that was long before Gaiman was accused of sexual assault. Jones also suggested an animated biopic from Peter Ramsey of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse fame. Ultimately, though, Jones did embrace one film about Bowie's life, the 2022 documentary Moonage Daydream. He wrote of the film on X, "It absolutely has the blessing of our family. I know it was made with love." Duncan Jones stepped out from his father's shadow with two fantastic sci-fi movies, 2009's Moon and 2011's Source Code. Unfortunately, the next stage of his career has been largely seen as a misstep, as he directed the box office bomb Warcraft in 2016 and the critically reviled Netflix movie Mute in 2018. That same year, Jones announced the news that he would be directing an animated sci-fi movie based on an iconic comic book. He wrote on X, "Incredibly excited to confirm I'm working on an adaptation of Jerry Finley Day and Dave Gibbons' 2000 AD comic, Rogue Trooper." Updates were far and few for a long time, although in 2019, Jones told Entertainment Weekly that the script was looking pretty good. He added, "It's getting to the point where we're going to have to start casting and making the thing." That casting update wouldn't arrive for another 5 years, though. In 2024, Variety confirmed that Rogue Trooper would star Aniron Barnard, Haley Atwell, Jack Loudon, Matt Berry, Sean Bean, and more. That same year, Jones tweeted, "Jesus Christ, I thought making Warcraft was a stressful marathon. Rogue Trooper is making me sweat." Fans have been cautiously curious about Jones's potential comeback, acknowledging his great early work, even despite his less well-received latter two movies. The movie's release date has yet to be confirmed, but with any luck, Jones's stressful marathon will get his directing career back on track.
Hollywood's track record with movies based on video games has always been a little less than stellar, but when Duncan Jones stepped up to helm Blizzard's Warcraft movie, he was determined to break that curse. Fans were hopeful, not least due to Jones' own love of video games. In the past, he's lent his voice to The Bard's Tale, Wing Commander, Warcraft itself, and even the relatively obscure Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Addressing Hollywood's inability to produce great video game movies, Jones told PC Gamer, "Source material is not what stops a movie from being good, it's what you do with it." Unfortunately, Warcraft failed to garner the critical acclaim Jones had enjoyed with Moon. In 2012, Jones announced his engagement. Their wedding plans were sped up, however, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer shortly after. They married the same day as the diagnosis. Jones tweeted, "We were a little overwhelmed by the news, cancer, and election day, so we decided to make it a set. Ran down to the courthouse and got married." The Twitterverse responded with an outpouring of support, and Jones shared a photo of himself with a newly shaved head in support of his bride. He later tweeted, "A big thank you to everyone who has been in touch. Ro and I are humbled and very grateful. Learn the lesson though, feel up your loved ones." In 2013, Ronquillo announced that she'd undergone a double mastectomy and beaten the cancer. In 1971, 3 days after Duncan Jones was born, David Bowie performed his song Kooks for the first time for the BBC's in-concert radio show. The song, which was later recorded for Bowie's legendary album Hunky Dory, was an anthem to his young son. It embraced the idea that even the most unconventional people can make good parents. In 2017, Jones took the stage at the 2017 Brit Awards to accept an award on behalf of Bowie and made a fitting tribute to his late father's song.
This award is for all the kooks and all the people who make the kooks. Thanks, Brits.
David Bowie split with his first wife, Angela Barnett, in 1980. She agreed to give up custody of Duncan and was awarded $750,000 in a settlement in exchange for accepting a 10-year gag order, which prevented her from saying anything to the media about her ex-husband. After the order expired, she became more than candid about her relationship with Bowie and their son. In 2005, she explained to the Evening Standard, "I really thought the best thing to keep David alive was to leave my son with him. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I kept saying to myself, I've got to do this. I can't escape if I take my child with me. He'll fight me and it will be awful for my son. And I can have another child, it's not a big deal." A few years later, Jones told the Daily Mail, "We stopped communicating when I was 13 and it was the right choice then, and I'm convinced it's still the right choice now." In his mother's absence, it was Jones's nanny, Marion Skeen, who showed up and filled those shoes when he was only 4 years old. This, of course, was during a time when his father's life was a little more than a haze of touring, groupies, and drugs. Jones explained to the Daily Mail, "I've always considered Skeen as my mom, so I never felt I was missing out in any way." Bowie himself clearly shared this sense of respect. He bequeathed her $1 million in his will when he died in 2016. After Skeen died of cancer in 2017, Jones took to Twitter to pay tribute to the woman who'd raised him. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Bowie did his best to encourage his son to learn to play music. Jones, though, was having none of it. He explained, "He tried to get me to learn the drums, but I didn't want to. The saxophone? No. Piano? No. Guitar? No thanks. Bless him. He kept on trying and nothing was happening. Nothing would take." Despite this, Jones credits his father for accepting his choice and encouraging to pursue different creative interests, namely filmmaking. By the time he was 8, Bowie not only had introduced him to the wonders of the 8mm camera, but also to classic movies such as Baron Munchausen's Dream and A Clockwork Orange. As an adult, though, Jones has stated that he did come to regret never learning to play an instrument. By the time Warcraft finally hit theaters, it had been 10 years in the making. Near the end of the movie's long journey, Jones was able to give his dad a sneak peek at what his dream project would look like. He told the Daily Beast that he showed him an early cut of Warcraft, saying, "For everyone else, he was one person. For me, he was my dad. And he was always interested in things I was working on. So I showed him what I was working on, and he was all excited for me and happy that I was doing the thing that I enjoyed doing in my life." Bowie passed away before the movie opened, but Jones has since said that those family ties made Warcraft extra special to him. For Jones, it's clear that, above all else, family always comes first.